Hello, my friends. Today I want to talk about something that's deeply personal, something we all experience, but perhaps don't always talk about enough loss. We don't always realize what we've lost until it's too late. Until one quiet, still moment catches us off guard, and suddenly everything that we once held so casually in our hands becomes crystal clear in its absence. I've been thinking a lot lately about the nature of loss, how it often shows up quietly, without warning. We're so busy running, chasing, and striving that sometimes we miss the signs, the subtle shifts in our lives that whisper, hey, you're losing something important. Sometimes that loss is a person we thought would always be there. Other times it's a part of ourselves we gave away too easily. Maybe it's time we'll never get back. But the real tragedy is not the loss itself, it's the realization that we didn't fully appreciate it until it was gone. There's this moment, though, when everything becomes clear. It's that space between the noise and the rush, when you stop, you take a breath, and suddenly you see what you missed. It could be a conversation you didn't have, a hand you didn't hold, or a decision you didn't make. You see, you didn't lose it all at once. It slipped away, unnoticed in the rush of life until now. And now you're left with the silence of what could have been. But friends, here's what I want you to know. Recognizing what we've lost is not weakness. It's a powerful act of self-awareness. It's about looking honestly at our lives, acknowledging our regrets, and giving ourselves permission to feel what we feel. Because when we can name what we've lost, we also find the key to healing, to growing, and to reawakening our hearts. What we lose doesn't define us. What defines us is how we choose to move forward, how we take that loss and turn it into a lesson. The pain of loss isn't the end, it's the beginning of a new chapter, a new opportunity to find the things we didn't realize we still had. It's a call to return to ourselves, to what we value most, and to rebuild with more intention. And that's where the real beauty lies, in the quiet courage to look at what we've lost and to say, I am still here, I am still whole, I can rebuild and I can create something new, because life, my friends, always offers us second chances. There's always a way to start again, to reimagine what we thought was forever gone. So don't be afraid to face that silence. Don't be afraid to feel the loss, to mourn, to grieve, because it's through that vulnerability that we find our strength. It's through recognizing what we've lost that we realize what we're truly capable of gaining. The beauty of this life is that every ending holds the seed of a new beginning. You can reinvent, you can heal, and most importantly, you can live more fully than ever before. Reflection is one of the most powerful tools we have as human beings. It allows us to look back on our lives, not just with the eyes of the past, but with a clearer, more present awareness. Often we move through life so quickly, chasing after goals, checking off to-do lists, and trying to keep up with everything and everyone around us. We forget to pause, to truly look at our journey, to see how far we've come, and to acknowledge what we've experienced. But when we take a moment to reflect, it opens up a space for deeper understanding. Reflection isn't just about thinking over what's happened, it's about creating a dialogue with ourselves. It's about asking the important questions, not just what happened, but how did it feel? What did I learn? What might I have missed through this? We start to understand the deeper truths of our lives. We begin to see the patterns, the moments when we made decisions we didn't realize were so significant at the time, and the ways in which those decisions have shaped who we are today. It's in these moments of quiet introspection that we often realize what we've lost. Not necessarily in the physical sense, but in the intangible, the love we didn't nurture, the opportunities we let slip by, the relationships we didn't fully invest in. In that space of reflection, we come face to face with these losses. They may have seemed small at the time, but in hindsight, they hold a much deeper significance. The beauty of reflection is that it gives us the opportunity to reframe our understanding of the past, and in doing so, we gain new wisdom. When we reflect, we also come to terms with our regrets. It's not always easy to face what we've missed or what we've allowed to pass by, but doing so is essential to growth. Regret, when processed in a healthy way, doesn't paralyze us, it moves us forward. It becomes a reminder of what matters, a guide to making better choices moving ahead. Through reflection, we shift from viewing loss as something negative to seeing it as a teacher, guiding us to a more conscious and intentional future. Reflection is also a doorway to gratitude. It helps us recognize what we still have, even after loss. It reminds us of the people, experiences, and lessons that we might otherwise take for granted. When we see the full picture, both the gains and the losses, we develop a deeper appreciation for the present. And it's through this appreciation that we find peace, a sense of acceptance for the things we can't change, and the strength to move forward with a greater sense of purpose. In essence, the power of reflection lies in its ability to illuminate the unseen. It allows us to make sense of our past, not just by looking at the events themselves, but by understanding the emotions, lessons, and choices tied to them. It's a gift we give ourselves, a chance to learn from what has come before and to shape our future with intention and clarity. Through reflection, we can find wisdom in what we've lost and use it to build a more mindful and fulfilling life. Regret often comes to us in the stillness of our thoughts, when the world around us quiets down and we're left alone with the weight of our decisions. It doesn't announce itself with loud crashes or dramatic moments. Instead, it creeps in softly like the fading light of day and settles in the corners of our minds. It's in those quiet moments when we're alone with our reflections that regret reveals itself not as an overwhelming force, but as a quiet, persistent whisper. It asks us to look back, to reconsider what we've done, and perhaps more painfully, what we haven't done. There's a certain sadness that regret brings with it. It's not the sadness of losing something suddenly, but the quiet sorrow of realizing that we let something slip away unnoticed. We might have been too focused on the future, too caught up in our ambitions, or simply too distracted by life's daily noise to fully see what was before us. Regret has a way of making us feel as though we've missed the chance to make a different choice, a better choice, and that awareness can be haunting. It doesn't demand an answer, it just lingers and we can't escape it. Yet the quiet of regret doesn't just bring sadness, it also brings reflection. It forces us to revisit moments in time with the clarity that only hindsight can offer. We start to wonder how things might have been if we'd acted differently. What if we'd said the words we never spoke? What if we'd reached out to the person we let drift away? What if we had chosen the path that seemed too uncertain at the time? These questions may never have clear answers, and perhaps that's what makes regret so quietly powerful. It's the recognition that the past is unchangeable and that sometimes the things we lost or overlooked cannot be regained. But strangely, regret also has the potential to transform. While it initially feels like an anchor holding us back in time, it also offers an opportunity to learn. The quiet of regret is not just a place of sorrow, but a space for growth. When we allow ourselves to sit in that discomfort, when we stop running from the feelings it stirs up, we can begin to understand ourselves in a deeper way. We come to know our values, our desires, and what truly matters to us. Through regret, we are reminded of what we may have taken for granted, and in this awareness there lies the power to change. What makes the quiet of regret so profound is its ability to bring us face to face with our vulnerability. It reminds us that we are human, that we make mistakes, and that we are human, that we make mistakes, and that we are not immune to the consequences of our choices. But rather than diminishing us, regret allows us to see our capacity for growth and resilience. It teaches us that while we can't undo the past, we can use the wisdom it offers to move forward with more intention, with greater mindfulness, and with a heart that understands the fragility of time. In the quiet of regret, we find the invitation to evolve. It's not an easy space to occupy, but it is a space of transformation. And in the end, it's through facing that quiet and the discomfort it brings that we learn to embrace the lessons it offers and to live more fully in the present without repeating the mistakes of the past. The quiet of regret is not meant to silence us, it is meant to awaken us to what we still have the power to change. Some of the most profound losses in our lives are the ones that go unnoticed until much later, the ones that don't come with a clear-cut ending or a tangible absence. These are the invisible losses that aren't measured in things we can hold or people we can see, but in the subtle shifts of who we've become, the paths we never took, and the pieces of ourselves that we let slip away without realizing it. These losses don't announce themselves loudly, they don't demand attention. Instead, they linger in the background of our lives, unnoticed until a moment of quiet reflection brings them into focus. One of the most powerful invisible losses is the loss of time. We spend our days caught up in routines, in work, in obligations, in the endless list of things we think we must do. We rush from one task to the next, thinking that time is something we can manage, something that will always be there waiting for us. But when we finally stop to reflect, we realize how much of it has slipped away, how many moments we allowed to pass without truly living them. It's not just the days or the hours, but the small, unnoticed chunks of time that we didn't use to nurture relationships, pursue dreams, or simply be present in the here and now. These losses don't feel like losses at first, but eventually we recognize them as the unspent moments that we can never reclaim. Another invisible loss is the loss of connection. In the fast-paced world we live in, relationships can often become more transactional than emotional. We send texts instead of having deep conversations. We like posts instead of showing up for the people we care about, and we let time and distance slowly erode the bonds that once felt so strong. It's not always dramatic. People don't necessarily disappear from our lives overnight, but gradually the closeness we once shared fades into something less tangible. The calls we didn't make, the visits we didn't prioritize, the apologies we never spoke, all of these are small, invisible losses that accumulate over time. By the time we notice, we find ourselves wondering where those deep, meaningful connections went and why we didn't fight harder to keep them alive. We also lose parts of ourselves in ways that are hard to define. Over the years, we change, sometimes without realizing it. We let go of dreams we once held close, we suppress our true desires in favor of what's expected of us, and we sometimes forget the person we were before life's pressure shaped us. These invisible losses are the quiet erosion of our passions, our creativity, our curiosity. We give pieces of ourselves away, thinking they're insignificant or unnecessary, until we find ourselves looking back and wondering who we became and where the person we once were went. These losses don't always hurt immediately, but they leave behind a quiet emptiness, a sense of longing for something that's no longer there. Then there are the invisible losses in the form of opportunities missed. These are the roads not taken, the decisions not made, the risks not taken. They don't come with the same sense of finality as the loss of a loved one or a job, but they carry their own weight. There's a certain quiet grief in realizing that we passed up chances to grow, to experience new things, to be more authentic simply because we weren't paying attention, or because we weren't paying attention, or because we were too afraid. The loss of opportunity is subtle, it doesn't shout or demand recognition. But when we stop to think about it, we see the quiet accumulation of moments where we could have chosen differently, and the life we might have lived if we had taken those chances. What makes invisible losses so difficult is that they aren't always clear or tangible. They don't come with visible signs or endings. They don't leave us standing at a grave or packing up a box of belongings. Instead, they come in the form of whispers, the slow fading of time, the quiet drift of relationships, the unnoticed changes in ourselves, and the dreams that fade into the background. These losses often don't make their presence known until we've lived through them long enough to feel their absence, and by then it's harder to pinpoint exactly when or how they occurred. Yet there is beauty in acknowledging these invisible losses. By recognizing them, we give ourselves permission to grieve them, to understand their impact, and to begin the process of reclaiming what we can. When we acknowledge the subtle ways in which we've lost, we open ourselves up to healing. We become more aware of what we've been missing and can begin to make changes, big or small, to bring those parts of ourselves, those connections, and those moments back into focus. The invisible losses may be harder to see, but once we recognize them, they offer us the opportunity to live more intentionally, more fully, and more mindfully in the moments that matter. Life moves at a pace that often feels like it's out of our control. There's a sense that time is always slipping away, that the next task, the next responsibility is just around the corner. We're constantly moving forward, caught up in the urgency of the present, trying to stay ahead of the next deadline, the next challenge, or the next phase of life. We get so wrapped up in the whirlwind of day-to-day living that we hardly notice the world around us passing by or the people who are walking beside us. In the rush of life, we forget how important it is to slow down. There's an illusion that we need to keep moving, to keep up with everyone else, to be constantly productive or achieving. The idea of pausing feels almost foreign, as though it's a luxury we can't afford. But in that relentless forward motion, we miss out on the very things that make life meaningful, the small, quiet moments, the connections, the reflections. We're so focused on the next step that we forget to appreciate where we are right now. The beauty of the present moment often escapes us because we're already thinking about what's next, what needs to be done, or where we need to be. Sometimes it's not until we hit a moment of stillness, whether by choice or by circumstance, that we realize just how quickly life has passed. We look around and realize that so much has changed without us even noticing. People who were once a central part of our lives have drifted away, or perhaps time has altered our relationships in ways we didn't expect. We've aged, our priorities have shifted, and suddenly we're looking back, wondering where the years have gone. The things we thought we had time for, whether they were dreams we put on hold, passions we didn't pursue, or connections we didn't nurture, now seem distant, unreachable, as though they've been carried away by the tide of time. The fast pace of life often masks the things we should be paying attention to. We get so caught up in the doing that we forget to focus on the being. The people we love, the opportunities we have, the joys we could experience, they all become secondary to the demands of our schedules, the pressure of achievement, and the pull of the next big thing. We lose sight of the richness of life in our hurry to get through it, in that rush. We may even forget who we are and what truly matters to us as we become too absorbed in the roles we play and the expectations placed on us. It's easy to think that we can always catch up later, that we can slow down when things settle down, but the truth is, time doesn't wait for us. Once a moment passes, it's gone forever. We can't rewind or go back to yesterday to savor a conversation, revisit a place, or make a decision we missed. That realization, often only fully understood in hindsight, can leave us feeling a sense of loss. The moments that seemed so unimportant at the time, the ones we thought we could always revisit later, are the very moments that we can never get back. But it's not just the missed opportunities or the time we lost, it's the deeper sense of connection with ourselves and with others that we sometimes lose in the rush. When life moves too fast, we become disconnected, not just from the world around us, but from our own hearts. We forget to listen to what we truly need, to honor our own desires, and to be present in the now. We get caught up in what's expected of us and what we think we should be doing, rather than what we actually want to be doing. This disconnection can leave us feeling empty, even though our lives may look full on the surface. Eventually, when we realize how fast life has moved, we may feel a sense of urgency to slow down, to take back control, to make up for what we missed. But even in that realization, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity to reprioritize, to recalibrate, to become more intentional with how we spend our time. We can choose to be more present in the moments that matter, to give more of ourselves to the relationships that matter, and to align our actions with our values. It's never too late to shift the direction of our lives, even if we've spent years moving too fast. The key is to notice, to pause, and to make a conscious decision to live more fully in the present. In the end, life's speed isn't something we can control entirely, but we can control how we respond to it. We have the power to slow down, to take a step back, and to find balance amidst the rush. When we make space for reflection, for connection, and for living with intention, we reclaim the richness of life, even in the midst of its speed. It's about finding the harmony between moving forward and taking time to be still. By doing so, we honor the beauty of life's fleeting moments, and we learn to appreciate the present before it becomes a memory. There is a unique kind of courage in the act of acknowledgement, the courage to face the truths that we often avoid, the truths that live quietly in the corners of our hearts. It's a raw, vulnerable moment when we allow ourselves to admit what we've lost, what we've missed, and what we may have taken for granted. It's easy to avoid these truths, to bury them under layers of denial, distractions, or busyness. But when we summon the courage to acknowledge the things that have shaped us, whether they are regrets, missed opportunities, or past mistakes, we open the door to healing and growth. Acknowledgement is not just about admitting something to others, it's about being honest with ourselves. It's about looking inward without fear or judgment and confronting the parts of ourselves that are difficult to face. This could be the acknowledgement of a relationship we let slip away, the career path we didn't take, or the dreams we never fully pursued. It could be a recognition of our own shortcomings, the ways in which we failed ourselves or others, or even the moments we didn't show up as our true selves. To acknowledge these things is to accept that they are part of our story, part of our journey. It's a kind of surrender, not giving up, but giving in to the truth of our experience. Yet this act of acknowledgement takes incredible courage. We fear judgment, disappointment, or the vulnerability that comes with revealing our perceived weaknesses. We worry that acknowledging these losses or mistakes will somehow diminish us or make us less worthy. But the truth is, it is only by acknowledging what we've lost or what we've failed to do that we can begin to understand the depth of its impact on us. Only by acknowledging the pain, the regret, or the missed chances can we give ourselves the space to heal and move forward. Without acknowledgement, we remain trapped in the cycle of avoidance, unable to fully process or learn from our experiences. Acknowledging what we've lost doesn't mean we have to remain stuck in it. It doesn't mean we have to dwell in sadness or regret forever. On the contrary, acknowledgement is the first step toward reclaiming our power. When we acknowledge what we've lost, we make it real, and once it is real, we can choose how we want to respond. We can decide to let go of the guilt or shame that often accompanies regret, and instead use it as a lesson to guide us toward a better future. By facing the truth, we take control of the narrative of our lives and stop letting the past dictate who we are in the present. There is also a sense of liberation in acknowledgement. Once we speak the truth, whether it's to ourselves or to someone else, we release the heavy burden that comes with hiding or suppressing it. For too long, we carry around these unspoken truths, these hidden losses, thinking they make us weak or incomplete. But when we acknowledge them, we free ourselves from their grip. We allow ourselves to grieve, to let go, and to make peace with what has been. In that space of acknowledgement, we find the strength to heal and the courage to continue forward with a deeper understanding of who we are and what truly matters to us. Moreover, when we have the courage to acknowledge our losses and shortcomings, we give others permission to do the same. There's something deeply human about sharing our vulnerabilities and letting others see us in our entirety, flaws, mistakes, regrets, and all. In doing so, we foster connection, understanding, and empathy. We recognize that we are not alone in our struggles, and we open up the possibility for healing not just within ourselves, but within the relationships we hold dear. We give others the opportunity to acknowledge their own truths, and in that shared vulnerability, we create a space for growth and healing together. Acknowledgement is also a transformative act. It's not about staying in the past or dwelling on what has gone wrong. It's about using the truth of what we've experienced to create a new path forward. By acknowledging what we've lost, we give ourselves the clarity to prioritize what truly matters, to realign with our values, and to move with intention toward the future. In that moment of acknowledgement, we turn a page, choosing to rewrite our story with a deeper sense of purpose, self-compassion, and wisdom. In the end, the courage to acknowledge is not just an act of confronting the past, it is an act of self-love, of reclaiming our authenticity, and of embracing our full humanity. It's about showing up for ourselves as we truly are, with all our imperfections, regrets, and lessons. When we find the courage to face the truth of our experiences, we open the door to healing, growth, and transformation. And in doing so, we give ourselves the gift of living fully with a deeper understanding of who we are and what we have to offer the world. Loss is one of the most universal experiences in life, yet it is also one of the most profoundly individual. Everyone faces loss in some form, whether it's the end of a relationship, the passing of a loved one, the departure of an opportunity, or the quiet fading of a dream. No matter the form, loss comes with its own kind of weight, heavy and intangible, but undeniably real. And within this weight, there are lessons waiting to be discovered, though they are not always immediately apparent. At first, loss often feels like a void, a hollow space that nothing can fill. But if we allow ourselves to sit with it, to truly feel its depth, we begin to see that loss holds the potential to teach us in ways that nothing else can. In the aftermath of loss, we are forced to confront the fragility of life. We are reminded that nothing is permanent, that the things we take for granted, the relationships we assume will always be there, the dreams we think will never fade, are all subject to change. This realization can be uncomfortable, even unsettling. But it is also a powerful lesson in appreciating the present. Loss teaches us the importance of cherishing what we have, while we have it. It urges us to value the people around us, to recognize the beauty in the fleeting moments, and to embrace life as it comes, without waiting for some distant promise of a perfect future. Loss also teaches us about resilience. In the face of adversity, when the ground beneath us seems to shift or disappear, we discover a strength within ourselves that we may not have known existed. It's in the darkest times, when we feel as though we have nothing left, that we find the capacity to rebuild, to adapt, and to continue moving forward. Resilience is not the absence of pain or the ability to simply bounce back. It is the quiet persistence, the courage to keep going even when the path ahead seems unclear. It is the ability to grow, to learn, and to keep going despite the weight of what we've lost. Through loss, we also learn about the nature of attachment and detachment. We begin to understand how deeply we invest in people, places, and things, and how that attachment shapes our identity. Yet, loss forces us to reckon with the reality that all attachments come with the possibility of separation, that everything we hold dear may one day slip through our fingers. This lesson is not meant to harden us or make us fearful of connection, but rather to teach us the importance of holding things lightly. It's about learning to love without clinging, to experience life without desperately trying to control it. Through this lesson, we come to realize that our true peace lies in our ability to let go, to surrender to life as it is, and to accept that change is inevitable. Loss also brings us face to face with the complexity of grief. Grief is not linear, and it does not follow any set timeline. It ebbs and flows, sometimes appearing when we least expect it, and other times lying dormant, only to rise up again with new intensity. The lesson here is that grief is a part of life, not something to be avoided or rushed through. It must be felt, not suppressed, for it is through the fullness of grief that we begin to heal. We learn that it is okay to mourn, to feel lost, to question everything, and to seek solace in the absence. And as we give ourselves permission to grieve, we also learn the importance of compassion, both for ourselves and for others, because everyone's grief is different. And it is in that shared experience of vulnerability that we find connection. Perhaps one of the most profound lessons in loss is the lesson of impermanence. We learn that life is not a series of static moments, but a fluid, ever-changing journey. Loss teaches us that nothing stays the same, and that's okay. It's this very impermanence that gives life its meaning. Without the inevitability of change, there would be no appreciation for the things we have in the present moment. The fleeting nature of life and its experiences teaches us to let go of our attachments to permanence and to embrace the beauty and transformation. Every loss in some way opens the door for something new to emerge. This doesn't negate the pain of what has passed, but it allows us to see that life continues even in the face of hardship, and that we are always evolving. Through loss, we also come to understand the power of gratitude. It's often only after something is gone that we realize how much it meant to us. But in this realization, there is an opportunity to shift our perspective. Instead of focusing solely on what we no longer have, we can begin to look at what we once had with gratitude. Loss, in this sense, offers us the gift of reflection, of remembering the value of the moments and the people who enriched our lives. By practicing gratitude for what was, we learn how to honor the past without being held captive by it. Lastly, loss teaches us the importance of living authentically. When faced with the absence of something or someone, we begin to question what truly matters to us. The things that once seemed important may no longer hold the same weight. Loss strips away the superficial layers of life and forces us to confront our deepest desires, our truest selves. In doing so, it invites us to align our actions with our core values, to live in a way that feels authentic and true rather than based on external expectations or fleeting distractions. The lessons in loss are not easy to learn. They require us to be vulnerable, to face discomfort, and to confront the parts of ourselves we may not want to see. But it is through these lessons that we come to understand the richness of life, the strength within us, and the profound beauty that exists even in the midst of pain. Loss is not the end, it is the beginning of a deeper awareness, a deeper appreciation for life, and a deeper connection to our own humanity. The healing process is a deeply personal and often unpredictable journey. It does not follow a linear path, nor does it adhere to a set timeline. It begins in the quiet aftermath of loss or trauma, when the initial shock begins to fade and the weight of what has happened starts to settle in. At first, healing may feel like an impossible task, like an endless road with no end in sight. But over time, something begins to shift. Small steps are taken, and gradually the process unfolds in its own way, sometimes with clarity, other times with uncertainty. Healing is not simply about returning to how things were before the hurt, because some wounds leave scars that never fully disappear. Instead, it is about transforming in response to what has happened, finding new ways to adapt and live with what has been lost or broken. It requires a willingness to face pain directly, to feel it fully rather than avoiding or numbing it. This process is messy, uncomfortable, and often difficult. It demands patience and self-compassion, as the mind and heart wrestle with feelings of sadness, anger, confusion, and sometimes even guilt. It is through this deep feeling and facing of emotions that healing begins to take root. One of the first steps in healing is the act of acknowledging the pain. Without acknowledging it, the hurt stays locked inside, festering and growing. Denying or pushing it away only prolongs the suffering. But when we let ourselves feel the pain, when we allow ourselves the space to grieve, we begin to release some of the weight. This can be incredibly difficult because it may feel like we're giving power to the pain. But in reality, we're taking the first courageous step toward reclaiming our power. It is through acknowledging the hurt that we take ownership of our healing process, allowing ourselves to move forward instead of being trapped in the past. As time passes, healing begins to show itself in small, quiet ways. It may come through moments of clarity when we gain a new perspective on our situation. Sometimes healing manifests as a shift in attitude, where we learn to see ourselves with more compassion, or we begin to forgive ourselves for things we could not control. It can also appear in the form of acceptance, the understanding that life, in all its beauty and pain, is constantly changing, and that we can choose to move forward with the wisdom we've gained. Healing does not mean erasing the past. Rather, it means finding ways to carry it with us without letting it define who we are or limit our future. The wounds, though still present, no longer have the power to dictate our every move. Along the way, healing may require us to confront difficult truths about ourselves, about others, and about the situation that caused the pain. These realizations can be painful, as they often force us to let go of illusions or expectations, but they also allow us to move closer to a deeper understanding of who we are and what we truly need. In this way, healing becomes an act of self-discovery. We begin to uncover parts of ourselves that were hidden or suppressed, discovering new strengths, new dreams, and even new boundaries. These revelations are often the quiet turning points in our healing process, as they help us reshape our sense of self and redefine what it means to live a meaningful life. Healing also involves learning to live with the scars. Some wounds, no matter how much time passes, will leave marks. These scars do not mean we are broken or incomplete. Rather, they are symbols of our resilience, evidence that we have weathered the storm and come out the other side stronger, even if it doesn't always feel that way. Over time, we learn to see our scars not as reminders of pain, but as signs of the journey we've been through, the struggle and the triumph. Healing is about reframing how we view these marks on our lives, understanding that they don't diminish us, they shape us, adding depth to who we are. The healing process also requires us to lean into vulnerability. As we heal, we may be tempted to close off, to build walls around our hearts to protect ourselves from further pain. But true healing requires us to remain open to feel the full range of emotions and to trust that, with time, we will be able to bear them. This vulnerability is not weakness, it is strength. It takes courage to be open to life again after we've been hurt, to trust again after betrayal, to love again after loss. In opening ourselves up, we allow new experiences, new relationships, and new growth to enter our lives. This vulnerability becomes a bridge to a deeper, more authentic connection with others and with ourselves. In healing, we also learn to practice patience. The process cannot be rushed, no matter how much we might want it to be over. It moves at its own pace, and sometimes that pace feels painfully slow. But healing takes time. It is not something that can be forced or hurried. It unfolds naturally, step by step. There will be good days and bad days, and that's part of the process. Healing is not about achieving some end goal, but about learning how to live in a new way. One that is more aware, more compassionate, and more in tune with the rhythms of life. The key is to be kind to ourselves during this time, to recognize that healing is a journey, not a destination, and to honor wherever we are in the process. The most profound part of the healing process is the realization that through the pain we grow. We might not understand it at first, and we might even resent the pain, but eventually we come to see that it has taught us something invaluable. We become more aware of the fragility of life, more attuned to our own needs, and more capable of loving others with a deeper sense of empathy. The healing process reshapes us, not by taking away the pain, but by teaching us how to navigate it, how to find strength in it, and how to move forward with more grace and wisdom. Healing is about coming back to ourselves, about rediscovering the peace and wholeness that is still within us, even in the wake of the hurt. It is about learning how to live fully again, even after everything has been turned upside down. The process is never easy, but it is one that brings us closer to who we are meant to be, stronger, wiser, and more deeply connected to the world around us. There are moments in life when everything we thought was important suddenly feels distant, as if it no longer holds the same weight. These moments often come in times of hardship or after significant change, times when we are forced to reconsider everything we once took for granted. We are confronted with the reality that our priorities, beliefs, and values may need to shift. The things that once seemed urgent or essential may not matter as much anymore, and in their place, new insights begin to emerge about what truly makes life meaningful. Redefining what's important is a process of letting go of old definitions and embracing a deeper, more authentic understanding of what really brings us joy, fulfillment, and peace. When life presents us with challenges, it often forces us to pause and reflect. It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of day-to-day responsibilities, work, social expectations, material pursuits, and to forget what it is that makes us truly feel alive. We chase after success, status, and possessions, believing that they will bring us happiness and satisfaction. But when those things begin to crumble or no longer provide the sense of fulfillment we expected, we are left to reassess. We start asking ourselves deeper questions. What do I truly value? What do I want my life to stand for? What matters more than the hustle, the noise, and the constant striving? In this moment of introspection, we begin to see that the things we once thought were so important, external achievements, societal approval, or material wealth, are not necessarily the keys to lasting fulfillment. These are transient, and as such, they can never provide the deeper sense of purpose we seek. What really matters, we realize, are the relationships we cultivate, the moments of connection we share with others, and the ways in which we can contribute to the world around us. It is in love, kindness, and authenticity that we often find true meaning, not in accomplishments or possessions. Redefining what's important means recognizing that life is not a race or a checklist, but a journey of experiences and connections that shape who we are. This process also invites us to look inward and reconnect with our own values. Often we spend so much time seeking validation or approval from others that we lose sight of our own truth. We may follow paths or make decisions based on what is expected of us rather than what feels right in our hearts. Redefining what's important means returning to ourselves, listening to our inner voice, and honoring what truly resonates with us. It's about understanding that our worth is not defined by external markers, but by the alignment between our actions and our values. When we live in accordance with what is most meaningful to us, we feel more at peace and fulfilled, regardless of what others might think. Reevaluating our priorities also challenges us to embrace simplicity. In a world that constantly encourages us to do more, be more, and have more, it's easy to get lost in the pursuit of excess. We accumulate things, experiences, and achievements in the hopes that they will bring us happiness, but often they only lead to greater stress and distraction. Redefining what's important calls for a return to simplicity, a recognition that less can be more. It's about finding joy in the small moments, in the quiet and simple aspects of life that we often overlook in our rush to achieve. It's in a heartfelt conversation, a quiet walk, or a shared meal where we often find the deepest sense of contentment. By prioritizing what truly matters and letting go of the rest, we create space for peace and clarity in our lives. Another key aspect of redefining what's important is letting go of perfectionism. We live in a society that often pushes us to strive for flawlessness in everything we do, whether it's our work, our appearance, or our relationships. We are led to believe that if we aren't perfect, we are somehow lacking. However, this pursuit of perfection can be draining and unfulfilling. The truth is, there is no such thing as perfection, and the more we strive for it, the further we move away from the true essence of life. Redefining what's important means allowing ourselves to be imperfect, to embrace the messiness of life, and to find value in the process rather than the outcome. When we let go of the need to be perfect, we open ourselves up to deeper, more authentic experiences that are not defined by external expectations, but by our own inner truth. At the heart of redefining what's important is the ability to live with intention. When we become more aware of what truly matters to us, we can make more conscious choices about how we spend our time and energy. It's about choosing what aligns with our values and letting go of what drains us or doesn't serve our higher purpose. Living with intention allows us to focus on what brings us joy, fulfillment, and growth, while also freeing us from the pressure to conform to societal standards or expectations. This intentionality helps us become more present in our lives, appreciating each moment for what it is, rather than constantly chasing after the next thing. Furthermore, redefining what's important often leads to a shift in how we view success. Success is no longer measured by external accolades or material gain, but by the quality of our relationships, our personal growth, and our ability to live in alignment with our values. True success is about feeling fulfilled and at peace, knowing that we have contributed to the world in meaningful ways and lived in a way that is authentic to who we are. When we redefine success, we free ourselves from the exhausting pursuit of others' expectations and begin to define our own path, one that reflects our deepest values and desires. This redefinition of importance also invites us to embrace gratitude. As we look at our lives through a new lens, we become more aware of the things that truly bring us joy and fulfillment. We begin to recognize that we already have much to be grateful for: our health, our loved ones, the opportunities we've been given, and the simple joys that make life rich. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we don't have to what we do, helping us find contentment and peace in the present moment. It reminds us that what we already possess, love, connection, peace, and purpose, is often far more valuable than anything we could acquire or achieve. In the end, redefining what's important is a journey of rediscovery. It's about shedding the layers of external influence and returning to our core selves, to the things that truly matter and bring us meaning. It's about embracing simplicity, authenticity, and connection, and letting go of the pressures to conform or achieve. It's a process that invites us to live with more intention, more gratitude, and more peace as we let go of what no longer serves us and embrace what brings us true joy. Through this redefinition, we create lives that are more aligned with our values, more connected to others, and more fulfilled in ways that last beyond the fleeting moments of achievement or possession. There is a quiet power in second chances, a gentle reminder that life is not defined by a single moment, mistake, or misstep. Too often, we can find ourselves caught in the grip of regret, believing that because we've made a wrong turn, we've forever altered the course of our lives. But the beauty of second chances lies in the simple truth that we are not limited by our past. Life offers us opportunities to start again, to learn from our mistakes, and to rebuild what we thought was lost. It's a grace that allows us to try, fail, and try again, knowing that each new attempt brings us closer to understanding, growth, and transformation. Second chances are more than just opportunities to correct mistakes. They are chances to redefine who we are and what we want. They invite us to examine the lessons learned from past failures, to grow from them, and to approach life with newfound wisdom. When we are given a second chance, we are not merely returning to the same place. We are moving forward with a deeper awareness, a stronger sense of self, and a clearer understanding of what truly matters. It is through these fresh starts that we are able to evolve, shedding the limitations of our past and stepping into a new version of ourselves. The beauty of second chances is also that they allow for healing. Whether it's healing from broken relationships, missed opportunities, or personal disappointments, second chances offer the possibility of renewal. Time does not erase our wounds, but it offers us the space to reflect, learn, and begin to heal. A second chance can be the moment when we decide that the pain of the past will not dictate our future. It is a chance to rebuild trust, rebuild confidence, and rebuild dreams that we may have abandoned. With each new opportunity, we learn how to love ourselves more fully and with greater acceptance, knowing that we are not defined by our failures, but by our capacity to rise again. Second chances also bring the gift of forgiveness. In order to move forward, we often need to let go of past hurts, both toward others and toward ourselves. When we allow for second chances, we create space for forgiveness to take root, whether it's forgiving someone who has wronged us or forgiving ourselves for not having acted differently. Forgiveness frees us from the weight of past mistakes, giving us the lightness to move forward with an open heart. It is through forgiveness that we can embrace the possibility of growth, knowing that the mistakes we made are not permanent markers, but stepping stones toward a better future. The power of second chances is not just about the ability to start over, it's about the courage to try again, even when the outcome is uncertain. It's about stepping into the unknown with faith, trusting that no matter the result, the process of growth and exploration is what truly matters. Each time we take a step forward, even with the knowledge that we might stumble again, we affirm our resilience. We learn that it's not about perfection, but about progress. And it is in the act of trying again that we often discover unexpected joys, new opportunities, and hidden strengths within ourselves. There is also beauty in recognizing that second chances are often unexpected. Life doesn't always follow a clear path, and sometimes opportunities come when we least expect them, when we've given up, when we've stopped searching, or when we've lost hope. It is in these moments of surprise that the true beauty of second chances is revealed. They remind us that life is full of possibilities, even when we think all doors are closed. In these moments, we are invited to trust in the flow of life, to believe that even in our darkest hours, there are new beginnings waiting for us. A second chance doesn't mean forgetting the past. Rather, it's about acknowledging it and choosing to move forward in spite of it. It means recognizing that who we were is not who we have to be, and that change is always possible, no matter how many times we've fallen. Second chances empower us to take what we've learned and apply it in a way that leads us closer to our true selves. They teach us that every day is an opportunity to begin again, to pursue our dreams with renewed vigor, and to show up for ourselves and for others in a way that reflects our most authentic desires. The beauty of second chances also lies in their ability to transform our relationships. Just as we are given the opportunity to start fresh with ourselves, we are often given the chance to rebuild connections with others. Whether it's with family, friends, or romantic partners, second chances can offer a path toward reconciliation, understanding, and healing. These chances allow for the space needed to reestablish trust, to communicate more openly, and to love more deeply. Relationships, like people, are not static. They are living, breathing entities that can grow, evolve, and change over time. Second chances are a testament to this ongoing transformation, a reminder that love and connection are always possible, even after hardship. Ultimately, second chances are a reflection of the boundless potential within us all. They are a reminder that no matter how many times we fall, we are always capable of getting up and trying again. They show us that growth is a continual process and that each new opportunity is a chance to become a better version of ourselves. The beauty of second chances is that they give us the freedom to move forward, to forgive, to heal, and to dream, knowing that every new beginning holds the possibility of something beautiful. In the end, it is through second chances that we learn the most about ourselves, our resilience, and our capacity to create a future filled with possibility. Vulnerability is often perceived as a weakness, a fragile state that leaves us open to hurt or failure. In a world that prizes strength, resilience, and control, the act of being vulnerable can seem like a risk, one that we are taught to avoid. We fear that by exposing our true selves, our fears, our insecurities, or our flaws, we will be judged, rejected, or hurt. But there is an undeniable strength in vulnerability, a quiet courage that allows us to connect deeply with others and with ourselves. It is in vulnerability that we find the capacity to heal, to grow, and to truly experience the fullness of life. Vulnerability also offers the possibility of true self-acceptance. In a society that often tells us to strive for perfection, we can become disconnected from our authentic selves, constantly striving to meet external expectations and suppressing parts of ourselves that we deem flawed. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we stop hiding those parts of ourselves we may consider imperfect. We begin to embrace our weaknesses as part of our story rather than something to be ashamed of. This acceptance of our vulnerabilities allows us to love ourselves more fully, to understand that we are not defined by our mistakes or insecurities, but by our more willingness to grow and evolve. Another profound strength of vulnerability is its ability to foster growth. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we give ourselves permission to experience discomfort and uncertainty. It's through vulnerability that we confront our fears, face our failures, and challenge our assumptions. Instead of avoiding the painful or difficult parts of life, we lean into them, allowing them to teach us important lessons. Vulnerability is not about being passive or weak in the face of adversity. It is about engaging with life fully, without armor or pretense, and trusting that through those experiences we can learn, heal, and become stronger. It is through vulnerability that we build resilience, not by avoiding pain, but by allowing ourselves to feel it, learn from it, and rise again. Moreover, vulnerability is often the birthplace of creativity and innovation. When we open ourselves up to new ideas, we acknowledge that we do not have all the answers. We become open to the unknown, to the process of exploration, experimentation, and discovery. It is in embracing uncertainty that we take risks, whether in our personal lives or in our work, and find new possibilities. Creativity requires a willingness to be vulnerable because it demands that we step away from the safe and predictable and into the realm of the unknown. The most groundbreaking ideas, the most powerful works of art, the most innovative solutions often come from people who dare to show their vulnerability, to step into the discomfort of not knowing, and to be willing to fail in order to succeed. Vulnerability also strengthens our emotional intelligence. When we are vulnerable, we are more attuned to our emotions and the emotions of others. We are able to recognize our own feelings, understand them, and express them in healthy ways. At the same time, we become more empathetic to the struggles of those around us, able to connect with them on a deeper level because we are not hiding behind walls of defensiveness or fear. Vulnerability creates space for compassion, both for ourselves and for others. It allows us to see beyond surface-level interactions and into the hearts of those we encounter, fostering a sense of shared humanity that strengthens our relationships. In addition, vulnerability is a cornerstone of courage. It takes incredible courage to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to expose the parts of us that are raw and unprotected. But in this courage, we find a strength that cannot be replicated by simply pretending to be invincible. Vulnerability requires us to embrace uncertainty, to step into situations where the outcome is unknown, and to trust that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way. It is in these moments of vulnerability that we discover what we are truly made of, uncovering reserves of strength, determination, and resilience we may not have known existed. The act of showing our vulnerability is itself a courageous choice, one that empowers us to face the world with authenticity and integrity. Vulnerability also holds the key to true connection with others. In a world where it's easy to hide behind social masks, to present a curated version of ourselves, real connection often seems like a rare and fragile thing. But when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we break through the barriers that separate us. We share our stories, our hopes, and our fears. In doing so, we invite others to do the same. This creates a bond that transcends superficial interactions and taps into the deeper, more meaningful aspects of human connection. Vulnerability allows us to understand each other's experiences, to offer support and love, and to truly see one another for who we are. It is in our shared vulnerability that we find our greatest strength as a community, because it is through vulnerability that trust and understanding are built. Lastly, vulnerability is integral to living a fulfilled and meaningful life. When we live vulnerably, we allow ourselves to experience life fully, to take risks, to try new things, and to make mistakes without the fear of judgment. We let go of the need for perfection and embrace the messy, unpredictable nature of existence. Vulnerability frees us from the constraints of fear and insecurity, allowing us to pursue what truly matters to us, whether that's a career, a relationship, or a dream. It encourages us to take chances, to follow our passions, and to show up for life with an open heart, ready to embrace whatever comes our way. In this openness, we find a deep sense of peace and fulfillment, because we have chosen to live authentically without the need to hide behind walls of defense or control. The strength of vulnerability lies not in avoiding pain or discomfort, but in embracing it as part of the human experience. It is through vulnerability that we find connection, growth, and authenticity. By allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, we open the door to deeper relationships, greater self-acceptance, and a more courageous approach to life. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it is a powerful force that allows us to live fully, love deeply, and experience life in all its beauty and complexity.